Hi, Dr. B here. Welcome to Dr. B Uncensored, where we interview candid thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and founders to tell their story to aspire and inspire others to do the same. Hopefully, you enjoyed this episode.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Dr. B Show. I'm here with the great Claudia Rucker. Claudia, how you doing?
I'm doing really well, Dr. V. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Same here. We finally getting it done here. When will it air? Probably at early 26, but being recorded at the end of 25. So happy holidays for those, well, belated holidays for those by the time you guys get to listen. Let's jump right into it. Tell everyone about yourself.
Yeah, so Dr. B, I'm the founder of Beyond Ordinary Business and the creator of the Mindful Scale Method. And I am a serial entrepreneur. I started my first business when I was 16, and I come from a long line of entrepreneurs. My parents' family, they were all small business owners in their town in Mexico. And so we carry this like resiliency and grit that you need for entrepreneurship, like many generations back. Never wanted to be an entrepreneur, but here I found myself in being an entrepreneur. And every time I try to step back, I'm always invited to come back in. So now I just identify as a serial entrepreneur, really in love with the opportunities and also very mindful of like how those opportunities have like a double-edged sword. So one thing that I'd love the listeners to know is that I really am the person that founders call when they're stressed out, overwhelmed, and frustrated because they can't connect the dots, like the math dots, right, between the money and still having enough energy to be present in their life and to be able to build a business without having to sacrifice their life. That's when they call me. And the way that I help them is really to document their genius. I help them design a client experience and then build the systems and the structure and the team to support that scaling that genius. Because I work primarily in the service industry. And that's really who I am in a nutshell, besides being a Latina. My parents came from Jalisco, Mexico.
I love it.
And yeah, first generation, living in between these two worlds. But I think that that has really shaped me quite a bit, is being able to navigate the two worlds and that unknown. It really helps me have more of a system thinking hat and superpower when I'm helping my clients try to figure out that mental math and the operational excellence, how we put operational excellence into their business.
I love it. I love it. You and I have something in common already. We're just starting. And that thing in common, it's yes, on top of being entrepreneurs and not team, right? Is the
Yes.
fact that what I teach is how to raise capital. And part of the process in raising capital is having the systems and scripts and processes for you to get it done. You can't
Yeah.
just a la loca just start texting people, hey, I need 10K or 20K, right? It's a whole process that goes behind that, right? So I'm happy
Yeah.
that you announced that you
Yeah,
met.
and I feel like I think that I did that actually. Yeah, I grew a seven-figure business. We were wildly successful. We won best of here locally in our area for 16 consecutive years in a row. And so, you're getting to a certain revenue figure. You're getting all of these awards. We were recognized by the California Senate three times. We won the Pacific Coast Business Times Business of the Latino Business of the Year. So all of these awards are happening, but we have an accident in the spa, and there was a water leak, and a client stepped up onto the bench, and then the bench kind of fell and broke down. So we needed a big chunk of money very quickly to invest into the business so we could keep the business open. And it was a la loca. I went to my banker. She
Right.
was very friendly, and I said, "Hey, I need a loan." And
Yeah.
in my mind, I really couldn't understand that with all of the success, I still wasn't bankable. But
Wow.
we have this beautiful organization here in Santa Barbara, California, that I really owe my consulting work today and my advocacy work to this organization, Women's Economic Ventures. And what they did was they banked people that were not bankable. They followed the Grameen model. That was the foundation for their organization. And with the money came an opportunity. It's like, here's the carrot, right? We really want to pair you up with a business advisor. And that business advisor really taught me financial literacy, taught me operational excellence. He walked through me through all these obstacles that I had and really left this love of numbers and operations and client experience because that's really what we built out was the framework for my mindful scale. But it started with that ask, right? A la
Yeah.
loca. I need
I need money.
50K
Right,
and I need
right.
it
And I need it
tomorrow,
now.
right?
I need it
Yeah.
now, like
I need it
yesterday.
now. Yeah, yeah. And so I love what you're doing because I feel like what I do and what you do are very complementary. Um, and and I feel like there's so many opportunities in entrepreneurship. But the financial piece of it is really that financial literacy is really the piece that I want to invite entrepreneur founders really to embrace. That is going to get you very far, that financial literacy and really understanding that money isn't a metric of success, but it's a resource that you invest in what you value, the same way as your energy and your time. And we're always looking through Mindful Scale as how do we invest these valuable resources to scale a business mindfully.
100%. And I'm looking forward to our conversation. Obviously, we'll talk more about your business in a little bit, but I always like to start discussing a lot of like education stuff, right?
Yes.
Whether tell us a little bit about like your exposure in college, right, and how did that help you in what you're doing today, if at all?
Yeah, I have a quirky, college story or journey. Being Latina first generation, my mom, I don't think there was ever a time that my mom didn't tell me that I was going to go to college. She was just like, you're going to go to college. And so there was a lot of pressure on me to go to college. I'm the first of three daughters. And that pressure, like I didn't really know how to connect the dots, but I was part of FFA and I had these two beautiful advisors, teachers that basically championed me with a lot of universities. And so my first college experience was at Southwest Texas. I was going to study, I got a scholarship to study animal husbandry. And I plan to be a vet. But as many first generation Latinos, if we don't have I had the scholarship, but it didn't pay for my living expenses. So in break, what I would do is I would have three jobs, and one of these jobs is for a man taking care of his pets, and driving and translating with the staff that he had at the house. He recognized something in me, I guess that maybe my FFA instructors also had recognized. And he said, he went to my mom and he said, Claudia is, she's very smart and, but how can she really make it through college if she's always working her three jobs, working at Denny's restaurant, helping my mom clean houses, my pet store, job. These are all the things that I had to do to make enough money to really help myself throughout the semester to pay my living expenses. So my mentor, his name was Mr. Alameen, and he went to my mom and he said, I'd like to offer her an opportunity. And the opportunity is that I will give her a scholarship to go to school, and in return she'll work for me after she finishes university. And so of course my mom is a single mother. She herself is working multiple jobs, and this just seemed like such a gift and she said yes. And that starts the whole journey to Franklin College, um, Switzerland, and studying international business because Mr. Alamein had a vertical men's suiting manufacturing business. So that meant we bought wool tops from Australia, and literally at the end of the vertical came out a men's suit or a men's overcoat or jacket. And we, in his company, we managed that whole process from and that business was based in Eastern Europe and in Italy. So that's really how I get to Franklin College University because I definitely don't come from a family of privilege. I come from a hardworking family who taught me just really great values and a really amazing work ethic that I had to unlearn recently, right? But taught me a really great work ethic and
Sure.
really to be humble and generous and to be grateful, but to work really hard. And in that gratitude, I did work really hard for 14 years for
I
Mr.
love it.
Alameen after I graduated from Franklin.
I love it. Yeah, when I was doing my research before this podcast, because I don't like to wing stuff, right? I was like Franklin University of Switzerland. I was like, how did I was trying to make that connection, but I'm glad that you
Yeah.
finally explained it, and by you explaining it, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
either
Yes.
that, or you went to Europe on some like discovery and this excursion, and said, you know what, let me just land on going to Switzerland at school, right? So,
No, it wasn't that way at all. And I have to tell you, this is pre-internet, pre-cell phones. And it was really for me, it was a struggle. You know, I am very close to my family and I really had to my mom when I when we were discussing this, my mom was like, Miha, you have to go. This is such a great opportunity for you. And I can't give that to you. I can't give that to you, but my mom's very religious, and she said, God's answered my prayers. He's brought us an angel, and this is a great opportunity. And it really was. I have such beautiful experiences from going to school at Franklin, making friends from all over the world that I still am connected with. And when you're opened up to that cultural diversity at such a young age, and you start to realize culture matters, culture is important, and yet that we're human beings and we're connected that way. I feel like Franklin taught me the value of relationship and the value of seeing, yes, we might be different, but we're humans and we are the same. And so how do we kind of meet people where they're at with their culture, and how do we build these really beautiful relationships? And so that's really what I gained from going to school at Franklin.
yeah, it's important, right? As far as those
Yes.
networking, those relationships that you forge, and how you leverage those, and how you could help them, and vice versa, right? Through the law of
Yes.
reciprocity. I love
Yes,
it.
absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. All right. So I also I noticed that you volunteered at a couple of organizations as well, right? I know me. I would say the past decade, I went from volunteering from like HBCSF here in Jersey,
Hmm.
and that's no longer around. And then I was heavily involved with Prospanica for a long time, and then now I joined another board, which I don't even know the name recently, right? So you and I are almost like serving and giving back, right? So
Yes.
why is that important to you?
I think, well, purpose and meaning is I live my life through purpose and meaning, and entrepreneurship is just another expression of that. Because, I'm really about helping founders build triple profit businesses where there's a people profit, an environmental profit, and a fiscal profit. So, NABO, being invited to be on the board of NABO, why I said yes to that was it really I see this trend out in the world of entrepreneurialism and if the world of business. And that is that a lot of people get into business to have freedom, to have more opportunity. But unless you kind of have the structures and the mentorship and the practices in place, what ends up happening a lot of times is that we end up landing in what I call entrepreneurial poverty, where you're time poor, money poor, and energy poor. And Nabo gave me the ability to basically bring systems that I created for myself as a solo entrepreneur and give back to this beautiful community so that they don't get stuck in entrepreneurial poverty. The founders that I work with, there's still that same philosophy, but I feel like there's, this solo entrepreneur demographic. It's like 84% of all of the businesses that are being started this now. So, I mean, it's a large demographic, and I just felt like this organization is doing a really great job of helping people advocate, have a voice in politics, have a voice in generating wealth, and stepping into leadership. And those are the three things that I think are really important for a female founder to really have her eye on and be surrounded by. And I just give back, and it's the framework is called, and the workshops are called the sold out solo service provider. And it basically gives them all that structure and systems and practices that we would do for pre-scale, but from the perspective of a single uh, business owner.
I love that. I love that. No, it's important, and I think what I love about what you just said, right, is even like for me, like as an example, like I volunteered for Sponica, 7 8 years, and what it allowed me to do is a lot of the at the time I was working at a W-2, and what it
Hmm.
allowed me to do is a lot of the stuff I didn't do in my W-2, it would allow me to refine my skill set. Like as an example, speaking or looking at numbers. Right, I wasn't looking at numbers in my job, in my
Hmm.
W-2. I was more on the front side doing some other stuff. Right, so it allowed me to like refine myself or sharpen skills in other areas where normally my W two would it didn't give me the platform to do. So it's
Yeah, and that is true too. I get the opportunity to work with other chapters at a state level and at a national level, and that really is helping me speak to not like boots on the ground, but more lead in different spheres of influence that actually I really didn't have before I joined NABO. So I really feel like for as much as I give Nabo, Nabo gives back to me. Also, it's very reciprocal.
yep, absolutely 100%. And we'll discuss more about that now, right? So you're the founder CEO of Beyond Ordinary. I think you already alluded to the story in the beginning, right? So can you just tell us how this all came about? You didn't just wake up one day and say, "Hey, let me start a company." How did it all
No,
come about?
like no. So, I have already shared with the audience that I'm Latina. So in my culture and my family, um, when your mom asks you to do something, you really, you don't say no, right? Your mom. So my mom basically asked me to start a business for my sister. I had just come back from Italy, and was doing other things with the money that I brought with me and investing. And my mom came to me one day and she said, your youngest sister has a daughter and she's single. And of course she's looking at this from her life experience. Can you help her start a business? Because that's all she's ever known is entrepreneurialism is a path to make money. And what I'd like to, just share is it comes from a scarcity mindset. And you know, she wanted this for my sister. I said, okay, fine. I asked my sister, what do you want to do? And she said, well, I really like nails. And my dad is a barber, so that's not very far from, where he is at and what we know in our family. And so I said, okay, great. I did the research, I found the niche, and I said, this is the experience that we're going to offer. She went off to school, got her manicuring license, and I opened the business. And it was, how they say you're at the right place at the right time?
Yes,
We
yes.
were, we opened at like in the right place at the right time. There was a very big scare through the typical nail salons. People were getting um, infections that were quite damaging to their skin. And so we came out with this model where we were super clean. My sister's a surgical nurse. So she basically built all the cleanliness protocols. I came from living in Italy where beauty and being surrounded by beauty is very important. So the spa was just amazingly beautiful. And I also knew what I wanted, which was I wanted a service provider that would be able to speak to me, be able to hear my concerns, and be able to execute a consistent good quality experience. And so that's what we built. And we grew so fast, Dr. B, but without any systems or structure that were cohesive. They were little small systems, but they it wasn't like a business operating system. So what ended up happening was that I was in the weeds a lot of the time, putting out fires, and the service experience wasn't consistent until basically, like I said, I go to Weave, start working with my business advisor, Jeff, and then I start to connect all of the dots. And that's really when we built a business that was scalable, but because we had the whole operations piece dialed in. As you can imagine, um, there were fires, labor code changes, a lot of obstacles that happened. And I feel like my grit and my resiliency, I just was able to overcome each one of them. But it does come at an impact to your mental health. And, 76% of entrepreneurs suffer from mental health challenges because of the stress that you're under. And for me, I also did. And that's when I said, okay, I have to reverse engineer this business so that I do have time to and energy to take care of myself, to be involved with my family. They're very important to me. It's my number two value in life. And so I re-engineered the business and I brought in fractional consultants to support me in the re-engineering. Well, everything is great. It kind of felt like I figured this out. I'm getting ready to like go pitch it as a model to investors, and COVID hits. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I cannot believe this."
Right when you just figured it out, you have all these fractals, and then pandemic happens, and then you kind of have to like reinvent yourself again.
Oh my gosh, yes. If you could just imagine, I was, I think I spent like a couple of weeks in my pajamas and I woke up one day and I see the credits from the Tiger King rolling and I'm like, this can't be my life. And then the phone rang and it was a woman who I had mentored through Women's Economic Ventures. And she said, Claudia, I'm so excited. You're not working. And I was like, what is she talking about? I just closed my business. They just force closed it. And she said, we're so excited. We want you to come consult. You have a lot of experience with disaster. You have a lot of experience of turning, businesses around and making them profitable. And I put it on my vision board. You were going to come work for us. And look, this happened. And now I want you to come. And that's really how I fall into the business advisory and consulting work. It's that my business closed and there was an opportunity that was offered to me. And we turned a six-figure loss into a single digit profitability in 1 year. We did that with my team kind of fractional consultants that are coming in that would work with me in the COO role. And we turned this business around because it was the only mental health agency that served the underserved Latino community. And to me, that was personal, right? I had to figure that out and make that happen because there were so many wonderful families in this area that really depended on the therapist that provided the mental health, especially during COVID. And I don't know if you know, but the Latino population, they have a lot of obstacles when it comes to getting mental health support. And so we were just very determined as a whole team that we were going to make sure that this company survived and thrived because we wanted to make sure that we were there for the community and that they had that support service that they really needed to be able to thrive.
I love it. What a fantastic story. What an amazing story. And now, what I wanted to ask you was, now that yeah, you said you exploded a little bit, right? But you didn't have the system and process in place, and
Mm.
then COVID happened, right? And then let's say
Yes.
once you have your advisor, once all that happened, tell me how did this mindful scale methodology came about?
Yeah. So, I told you that the mental challenges of entrepreneurship. Um, what ends up happening through like after the I started to consult is that I started to really, as you start to build your emotional intelligence and awareness, that was really the journey that I was going through. And mindfulness really became a foundation for the way that I live my life. So mindful scale, it is business, it is a business operating system. The difference is that when we have the meeting routines, we're taking a mindful approach to how we grow a business. And that is that we're very capacity aware of people's human capacity. And we're very creative on how to get through that. But also we're the founders I coach with is this philosophy of leadership, which is called present leadership, where you are really very regulated. You take care of yourself because your team needs to co regulate off of you to be able to be grounded and adapt and be flexible and creative when change happens. So we really take an approach to business that change is always going to happen. And we're just putting the practices in place, both personal and business wise, to be able to adapt in real time in the moment to whatever is changing and create emergent strategy. So it doesn't mean that we don't plan. We do our business planning. We have our profit path planning. It's what we would do to scale a business, but the difference is how we come to work every day and how we interact in the meetings and the culture that we're creating inside of the business. It offers a lot of psychological safety for the employees, actually.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot. So it ties everything together, but it's more on the mental aspect of it.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Good, good. We're winding down, so I'm trying to like be mindful of your time. So you're also the founder of Sweet Spot, right?
Oh yeah,
SUITE.
the sweet spot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
SUI. I want to make sure it's not SWEET, right? You're not selling candy or
Yeah.
something.
No, but it is a sweet. Yeah.
It's a turnkey folk. It's for turnkey folks in the beauty and wellness space. So how did that
Yes.
come about?
Okay, so when we re-engineered the business, the nail salon business,
Yep.
we needed a bigger space and an upscale space to be able to hit the average service sale hour, basically. So that left us the original spot. And what I had seen was a trend where there were a lot of solo service providers that needed a space to start. And so what I did was I took the space, I built out suites. The only difference between, for example, the sweet spot and like let's say a Phoenix studio is that we're really working with the service providers through that mindful scale methodology to really give them a personal service provider operating system so that they can be successful. So we're not just renting them a space, we're giving them a business advisory on a very high level, right? To be able to understand their business, to understand what they need to charge, and to create that experience that basically is going to make them sold out service providers. So that the sweet spot is basically here is a affordable suite space, make it your own and let me help you be successful in business. And they usually outgrow that. They'll usually move out to open up their own spaces. That's usually the trajectory of a founder that comes into the sweet spot. They're there just really to be able to have affordable rent and so they can launch and then grow into bigger businesses.
I love that. I love that. That makes a lot of sense. I think what happens with a lot of people, like they'll jump into a business with no research, no anything, and then what happens when they come to us, especially at the Hispanic Chamber, is they undercharge, right? And they don't or
Yes.
they don't know what to charge, right? So I'm glad that you're able to handhold them at least in the beginning, so that at least they'll know what they're charging, and they're at least charging somewhat market rate as opposed to just being undercharging and then like you said, and having that entrepreneurship poverty, and then evidence think about, oh my God, why is cash flow so low when in reality you should be charging, three, four times more.
Yeah. And if you like what I saw when I owned the spa was that um there were a lot of Latinas that would basically go through the cosmetology school. And I mean, myself being Latina, I mean, I felt like a tia. I felt like I want to help them be successful. Um, and some of them would come to us specifically to work for us because they knew that 59% of our employees own their own home. So, because we would help them understand what home ownership was, um, how to get there, and why it was important. Why is it important for an immigrant to own a home? That's the first step in breaking generational poverty. That is the easiest way that you could do it. So what we were offering them was just education, very light coaching, and pointing them in the resources where they could go, find government programs that would support them as first-time home buyers to be able to actually make the home purchase possible. So to me, I think as you're starting to see a pattern, right, Dr. B, is I see a problem and then I say, okay, this could be a small solution. They're not solutions that I've tried to scale by any means because they really take, I mean, these are labors of love, right? Businesses that are made from really love of trying to help people get out of generational poverty. The sweet spot has another big purpose, and that is that my parents were almost hitting retirement age, and the sweet spot would give them purpose and meaning in the sense that they could go take out the trash and they could go. My mom could sweep, which she loves to clean. The sweet spot allowed them to have a place to go and actually be have meaning in their life. And so Sweet Spot serves both the end client and it serves my parents and my family to give back to our Latino community because that's primary the demographic that we serve and also to help my parents have more purpose and meaning.
I love that. Keeps them busy.
Yeah, keeps them busy.
I love it. What are my next to last questions? What advice would you give entrepreneur, like you said, is in that purgatory, that stuck stage? Like, what advice would you give that entrepreneur listening right now?
I would say that the best piece of advice is if you don't know what you don't know, it is asking, well, one, admitting you don't know what you don't know, and saying you don't have to figure this out alone. Right. There are people out there. Right now, I think the challenge is there's so much support out there. Really understanding what do you need to focus on, it becomes a challenge. And I feel finding someone that in their ecosystem that can basically guide them or refer them to someone that can help them understand what to focus on. I think that's the best advice that I could give them because we can focus our time, energy, and money on a lot of things, but what do you need right now to get yourself out? What's the biggest pain point? Is it the profitability piece? Is it the operations piece? Is it the team management piece? What is it? Because once you fix one of those big core problems, what ends up happening is that everything else kind of falls into place. It's really interesting that way. I would say I have on my website, claudiarucker.com, I have a quiz. And if they don't know what they really need to focus on at the qui- in the if they take the quiz, they'll understand this is the stage of business that you're in. This is what you really need to focus on. And of course, I'm always available. I love providing complimentary consultations and really offering support to people that are just curious and really want a guide to help them understand what's the next step.
I love it. I love it. It's true. You don't know what you don't know, and then seek the right advice from the right people, and yeah, and then you could always start with SCORE or the SPDC, and then and then work your way up that way, right? So
Yeah, absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
I love that. Where can people find information about you, or how can they contact you?
Yeah, so claudiarucker.com is probably the best place. They can schedule a complimentary consulting session, the first session. And there's also that quiz that I mentioned before, which really helps entrepreneurs understand what should they be focusing on in which stage of in the stage of business that they're in.
I love it. I love it. This was a fantastic conversation. We could keep going and going, but
I know, Dr. B.
I don't want, I want to be mindful of your
But
time. But
I have a question for you if you don't mind.
sure,
Okay,
this is going to
so
be part of
you
the show, by the way.
okay. Yeah, yes, of course.
Sure.
So, I come from, the profitability and the operations piece as your like pre-scale.
Yeah.
At what point do your services, like at what point do you think an entrepreneur needs to be speaking to you? Is it at pre-scale so that they can basically put the pieces in place?
Yeah, yep, yep. Yeah, it's almost like kind of like your situation, right? How do I get a loan, or how do I get a line of credit, right? So it's right before. It's not like when you need it, right? So that this is what you need to do in place: your taxes or your credit or numbers, right? So yeah, they really need to talk to me right before, so that I can let them know, okay, this is what you need to do A, B, C in order to get to point A to get to point B. So yeah, so just
Yeah.
right before.
Just right before
Yeah,
prescale.
yeah, yep, yep. You
Okay.
got
All right.
it.
Wonderful. Now I
Awesome.
know
This is
and I
part
can
of it.
share. Yeah.
Claudia, so thank you so much. I had a fantastic conversation, and I'm mindful of like the average podcast is like 30 minutes, so it's all good. It's all good. I think we hit the sweet spot.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Claudia Rucker, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Hi, everybody. Dr. B here, Dr. B Uncensored. Hopefully, you enjoyed that episode. Remember, you are one big deal away. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel now. Take care.